there, storytellers, welcome back to my channel and welcome to a new video. Today's video is for all of you out there who want that intense, deep understanding and connection between characters without it being romantic. You want that soulmate love, but without that soulmate romance. And I have 11 character pairings, and by virtue of those pairings, book recommendations for you to get that platonic soulmate vibes. And without any further ado, let's get into it. So, like I said, most people would hear the word soulmate and instantly kind of think of that romantic connection meant to be once in a lifetime whirlwind kind of thing. And that's true to an extent. You can have that kind of soulmate, but I'm also a firm believer that you can have a platonic soulmate, somebody who completes you in so many ways, but you just don't want to have a romance with them. Maybe they're just your soulmate best friend. I did think it was important to include those relationships that have that intense soulmate-like connection, but without a romance, because not everything has to be about the romance. So without any further ado, let me list off these characters for you. So my first pairing is Alina and Nikolai Lantsov from the Grisha trilogy. I'm not sure if she's in his duology, so I can't say for sure, but these actually are the characters that kind of spurred on this train of thought that inspired this video, because I think Alina and Nikolai get each other so well, and I think they kind of balance out each other's weaknesses and help each other play to their strengths, but neither of them are like romantically attached to the other one. Do I think Nikolai was a little bit more interested in Alina that way than Alina was in him? Yes, maybe, but I do honestly think that if those two had like really paired up as just like a power duo, even in a friendship way, they would have been truly unstoppable, but they just didn't team up quite as soon as I wanted them to, honestly, and then things got rocky. But without any spoilers for the series, I do think Alina and Nikolai are definitely worth the read together. They play off each other so well. Recommendation number 2 is Guinevere and Lancelot from the Camelot Rising series by Kiersten White. These two kind of, again, helped spur on this train of thought of like, these characters are kind of soulmates. They are so connected. They get each other so well. They legitimately have deep-rooted love for one another, but their relationship isn't a romantic one. They just truly love and want the best for one another, and it's just such a really refreshing friendship relationship to read, because I think a lot of authors steer clear of trying to create deep, like rooted love friendships, because then you kind of want to steer it into that romantic territory. But I think Kiersten White walks the line really well of these characters just really love each other, but they're not romantically entwined. Number 3 is Will and Jem. Will Herondale and Jem Carstairs are parabatai in the Shadowhunters universe written by Cassandra Clare. They are part of the Clockwork trilogy, and they're literally, like, the way I understood parabatai is that they make this vow to sort of live and die for one another, truly soulmates in like the extreme sense. They are living and dying for one another, and they're so connected. They can feel each other's pain, and they can sense the other one, and they just help play to each other's strengths in battle. They fight as one. It's this whole deep mystical connection, but legitimately Will and Jem are soulmates. They get each other. They're brothers. They're friends. They love one another. Will is kind of broody and angsty, but he laughs it off. He makes a lot of jokes. And Jem is really kind of sensitive and sweet, but he kind of has this aloofness to protect himself, and they kind of, those personalities balance each other out. Jem helps to explain what's really going on with Will and his feelings, and Will helps to protect Jem when he's feeling vulnerable. It's just a really beautiful friendship, and I very much recommend it. Also, I cried reading about them, and I can't spoil it, but I cried. Now, I know you didn't think that I would do a Platonic Soulmates recommendations list without including Frodo Baggins and Samwise Gamgee. I know you didn't think I wouldn't put them on this list. These guys are top tier. They literally travel to the ends of the earth together. They literally go through like near death on a daily basis. It's pretty much them two against the world at the end of the series. And do they come out the stronger for it? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And again, I think they play to each other's strengths. You know, Sam is just so incredibly loyal, and he has this innate hope in him that Frodo needs. Not that Frodo's a bad guy or anything, but Frodo's the ring bearer. He's more susceptible to the pain and the darkness that comes with being a ring bearer, and he needs someone who is just so naturally kind and hopeful and willing to see the good in the world to help him keep fighting on this journey. And if it weren't for Sam, where would Frodo be? You might be sensing the running theme of these characters really play to each other's strengths and balance each other out, and that brings me to Sherlock Holmes and John Watson again. Whether you have read the novels or you've just seen the recent BBC adaptation of the characters, I think it's fairly clear that Sherlock is this absolute genius, almost madman, who just does the craziest stuff to solve crimes. And John Watson is the anchor to that crazy ship that Sherlock is on, man. I think they're up there with, like, the OGs. You know, they're an older, established literary friendship, and they're one that stand the test of time. You know, people keep reading this friendship and seeing and feeling that connection between these two characters, and I think that's a testament to the relationship that the characters have, because ultimately, if you didn't like them and their relationship together, you wouldn't care whether or not they solved the crimes, because you'd be bored reading about them doing it. And I just think it blows my mind. Next we have Simon Snow and Penelope Bunce from the Simon Snow trilogy. These two, boy, do they get into shenanigans. Boy, do they do it. It's so funny. Where Simon is so ready to just charge off without a plan, Penelope is always ready to create a plan. But of course, she meets his chaotic energy right in the middle. They are an explosive force together of trouble, but they get the job done. And I do really think that Penelope understands Simon in a way that very few people do. I think Baz also understands him, but they also have that romantic layer to their relationship, whereas Penelope doesn't need that from Simon, so he can be vulnerable with her in a different way without that expectation of having to maintain their relationship in a romantic sense. Not that you don't have to maintain friendships, you obviously do, and they have a whole stretch in the series where they have to work on that together, but I think because he doesn't have as complicated thoughts to work through as he does with, like, his emotional range in terms of a romantic relationship, he's able to connect with Penny a little bit better, and she him, because they're not fighting that barrier that they both have a tendency to put up when it comes to romantic relationships. Next we have Chris and Gordy from The Body by Stephen King. You might know them a little bit better from the movie Stand By Me, the adaptation of that novella, but I think these two are special. They're part of this friend group in the novel where you first meet the characters, and while they're all very, like, connected as friends in that way you are with young friendships, you know, where it seems like it's the be-all end-all of your relationships, it's Chris and Gordy that really are far more connected than the other two. They just are kind of outsiders everywhere for two different reasons, but they're even sort of outsiders within their own friend group. They're just both a little bit more sensitive and different than a lot of the other boys that they know, and it allows them to connect, and they're just so willing to see the best in one another. You know, they both have this moment where they don't think they're gonna escape who it is they are now. And it's because of the belief and love that they give each other that they're able to step outside of their circumstances and how the town sees them and how other kids their age see them, and really become the best versions of themselves by the end of the novella. And it's kind of a heartbreaker of a story, but it's so good. I highly recommend it. Nearing the end of the list here, we have Evelyn Hugo and Harry Cameron. These two are friends, and they're both queer at a time where being queer is not exactly widely accepted, especially in the Hollywood starlet director world that they are both part of. The sort of entertainment industry definitely wasn't very forward thinking at the time that the story takes place. I can't remember exactly when, but for better or worse, they do end up married, and they have an actual deep understanding and connection with one another. They just aren't romantically involved with one another because they're both queer. They don't actually like the other person in that way, but they really do love each other. They have a family and a life, and they really kind of create a whole heart with each other, but also with the other people in their lives, especially in the one little section. If you've read Evelyn Hugo, you know what I'm talking about, but I'm trying not to spoil it too much for anybody. But they just are kind of perfect. And if they didn't love somebody else in a romantic way, in a true romantic soulmate kind of way, I think they would be soulmates for each other in that way as well. But despite the fact that they do have romantic feelings for somebody else, I do think their relationship is pure and built on love and mutual respect and understanding and helping the other person grow and be better and live their best life. And I mean, what more soulmates do you want? And last but not least, we have Cinder and Thorn from I cannot think of what the series is called right now. I know the first book is Cinder. There's Cress and Winter or something, and so oh my gosh, why can't I think of what they're called? The Lunar Chronicles. Here we go. The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I had to work that one out. But Cinder and Thorn get to know each other kind of in an unconventional situation. They're both outcasts. They're both different. And they both get that about each other, and they're willing to fight for each other. They're willing to help each other out. They're really awesome with the banter. They crack me up. But they're just like, Thorn is so willing to call Cinder on her BS when she's like downplaying herself and being negative, and she is so willing to call Thorn on his BS when he's just like, I'm the greatest ever. I can do whatever I want. I'm captain. I'm the best. Don't you worry about me, girly. Like, I got it. They're just like, okay, you can drop the front now because we have actual work to do. Something about it works, man. I think they're two characters that were truly meant to find each other because they bring something to the other person's life that was lacking, that they needed. And that is kind of the summation of my thoughts on all of these characters, is that they bring something to the other person's life that wasn't there to begin with. Both in terms of friendship and love and understanding and just having a sympathetic ear because it's somebody who feels like an outcast just like you do, and you get that. It just, they're all well paired. But that is it for my Platonic Soulmates recommendations list. There you have it. Those are the characters that come to mind for me when I think of Platonic Soulmates. But if you have any you'd like to share with me or anyone else, especially if I haven't read it and I can get a new recommendation out of it, drop that down in the comments below. I would be absolutely interested to know that. But I'm going to get going. If you want to keep up with me and all of my bookish adventures, you can go ahead and click the subscribe button. And of course, I highly recommend that you ring the little bell because it notifies you every time I post a new video, which is at twice a week right now. So do ring it so you don't miss the next one, and I will see you guys then. Bye!